Grandpa, Mommy, and Daddy said you don't need that much money, and we have to take it. My 6-year-old grandson, Leo, whispered playfully while bouncing on my knee. My blood ran cold. My smile froze. Outwardly, I just chuckled. Is that so, champ? What are you going to buy? I tickled him and he giggled, but all I could hear was the hiss of a snake. This wasn't a game. This was a script. This was the venomous talk my son, Tom, and his wife, Sarah, were having in private. And their innocent child was a parrot repeating a declaration of war. In that sickening moment, a plan for the coldest revenge of my life began to form. This story gets dark and complicated fast. And trust me, you won't want to miss how I dismantled their world using their own greed. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the updates on this nightmare. I'm Michael, 62. I'm not frail. I built a multi-million-dollar logistics empire from one rusty truck. I provided everything for Tom. The Ivy League education, the down payment on the sprawling house I was sitting in, even the high-paying no-show consulting job at my company that funded his lifestyle. I thought I was giving him a foundation. I realized I had only given him entitlement. And Sarah, I saw her ambition from day one. I just made the fatal mistake of thinking it was for a career, not my bank account. Leo's whisper was the key. It made all the other strange, unsettling moments from the past few months click into place. I thought back to 3 weeks ago. Tom and Sarah sat me down for an intervention. Their faces were masks of practiced concern. Dad, we're worried about you, Tom began. You're spending an awful lot. That trip to Italy, maybe it's too much for you to handle alone? I'd laughed it off. I'm 62, Tom, not 92. I earned that trip. Sarah chimed in, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. We just mean, what if something happens? Maybe it's time we helped you manage things. You know, just put our names on your main accounts. Just to help you pay bills, in case you forget. I had politely but firmly declined. That's what my accountant is for, Sarah. Thank you for the offer. The offer? It wasn't an offer, it was a probe. They were testing the fences, checking for weaknesses. They were trying to see if the old man was ready to be put out to pasture. They saw my generosity not as love, but as senility. I looked at Leo, now playing with his action figures. We have to take it, he had said. Not we want to. Have to. As if it was a mission. As if I, the man who funded their entire existence, was just an obstacle between them and the money they already saw as theirs. I needed to get out of there. I gently lifted Leo off my knee. Grandpa has to use the restroom, buddy. I stood up. As I passed the kitchen, I could hear them. Tom and Sarah laughing. Everything okay, Dad? Sarah called out, not even looking up from her phone. I turned, forcing a smile. Perfect, I said, my voice smooth as glass. I walked to the guest bathroom, locked the door, and gripped the sink. I stared at the face in the mirror, the face of a fool. But the eyes looking back weren't sad. They were cold. They were calculating. They had made a critical mistake. They thought I was an old, tired lion. They forgot what lions do to intruders. The game was on. I drove home from Tom and Sarah's place on autopilot. The 20-minute drive felt like an eternity. The forced smile I had maintained was gone, replaced by a cold, hard mask. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Leo's innocent whisper echoed in my head, a repeating soundtrack to my own personal horror movie. We have to take it. We have to take it. The puzzle pieces, which had been floating around me for months, now slammed into place with sickening clarity. Every weird conversation, every overly solicitous gesture, every "we're just worried about you." Look, it was all a lie. A carefully constructed performance. I remembered last month. I'd caught a simple head cold, nothing serious. Sarah had insisted on driving me to my doctor. I thought it was sweet, if a bit overbearing. Now I replayed the scene in my mind. While I was sitting right there, she had asked my doctor, "Are you sure it's just a cold? He's been so forgetful lately, misplacing his keys, forgetting appointments. We're worried about his memory, aren't we, Tom?" Tom, my son, had just nodded grimly, his face a mask of filial concern. "We just want to make sure he's okay, Doc." At the time, I'd been annoyed. I'd snapped that my memory was fine and I'd just been busy. The doctor thankfully had known me for 20 years and brushed it off. But now, my God, it wasn't concern. They were building a case. They were planting the seeds of my cognitive decline with my own physician. They were trying to create a medical record to back up their eventual claim that I was incompetent. Then there were the finances. Tom, who couldn't be bothered to read a balance sheet for his own no-show job, had suddenly developed an intense interest in my investment portfolio. Just 2 weeks ago, he'd cornered me after our Sunday dinner. "Dad," he'd said, trying to sound casual, "I was talking to this new financial guy, super sharp. He says at your age, your portfolio is way too aggressive. You should be in bonds, capital preservation." He'd offered to have his guy just take a look at my statements. "No fee, Dad. He's a friend. He just wants to help make sure you're secure." I had declined, telling him my advisor of 30 years was doing just fine. Tom had looked genuinely frustrated, and I'd mistaken it for him trying to be helpful. I was such a fool. His guy wasn't a financial advisor. I'd bet my entire fortune it was a lawyer specializing in elder law, or more accurately, elder abuse. He wasn't trying to protect my money. He was trying to get a look at it, to see how much there was, to find out where it was, and the little digs, the subtle, constant stream of poison. "Dad, this house is just too big for you. It's a lot of upkeep. Why not sell it and move into that new luxury retirement community?" That wasn't a suggestion. It was an attempt to liquidate my biggest asset. "Are you sure you should be driving that new sports car? The reflexes just aren't what they used to be." That wasn't about my safety. It was about chipping away at my confidence, my independence. They were conditioning me, trying to make me feel old, forgetful, and incapable. They were playing the long game. And the worst part? It was almost working. I had started to second guess myself a few times. I pulled into my own driveway. My house, the one I'd paid for, the one they called too big, looked like a fortress. I got out of the car, the silence of the empty garage deafening. They weren't just greedy kids waiting for an inheritance. They were predators. They were actively plotting to strip me of everything I had built. And to do it, they were willing to strip me of my dignity, my health, and my sanity first. I walked inside and poured myself a drink. Not out of weakness, but to steady my hand. I was no longer just a father. I was a general in a war I had just discovered I was losing. They thought I was a doddering old fool. They thought my mind was going. Fine. If they wanted a senile old man, I'd give them one. But first, I needed proof. I needed to know exactly what they were planning, in their own words. My mind started to churn, the logistics of my counteroffensive taking shape. The game was on, but I was changing the rules. The drive home was a blur. When I walked into my house, the silence was deafening. The shock from Leo's words was fading, replaced by a cold, sharp, calculating focus. I wasn't just a father anymore. I was a target. And targets fight back. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for them to file a competency hearing. I was going to get inside their operation and find out exactly what they were planning in their own words. First, I needed to hear them. That same night, I went online. I didn't search for spy gear. I'm not an amateur. I searched for high-fidelity audio recorders for lecture halls and voice-activated personal security devices. I spent $3,000 on 2 items that arrived the next morning with premium shipping. One looked exactly like a black USB wall charger, the kind everyone has. The other was a slim, black device, no bigger than a quarter, with a 200-hour voice-activated battery. I spent an hour testing them. The audio quality was terrifyingly clear. Second, I needed to protect my assets. I made a call not to my regular accountant. He's a good man, but a family friend, and I couldn't risk a leak. I called a forensic auditor I'd heard about through a business associate. His name was Mr. Graves. His website was sparse, and his specialty was complex asset protection and internal fraud. He was perfect. We met in a sterile coffee shop downtown. I didn't give him the emotional family drama. I kept it professional. I have reason to believe, I said, stirring my black coffee, that my son and his wife are being heavily influenced by a third party. I suspect they are planning to gain unauthorized access to my assets, possibly by claiming I'm incompetent. I need to know if any inquiries have been made, any credit pulls, any attempts to contact my brokerage firms or my banks. I need you to be a ghost. Find out what they've already tried to do. Mr. Graves just nodded. He didn't ask questions. He took my retainer and said, "They won't know I've been there." Now came the hardest part, planting the devices in their house, their territory. I couldn't just show up unannounced. I had to create a reason. I waited 2 days, my skin crawling with impatience. Then I called Tom. I put on my best, confused, slightly weak old man voice. "Tom, I'm so sorry to bother you," I started, putting a slight waver in my voice. "I think I left my good sunglasses in your guest room when I was over. The prescription ones. I'm just lost without them. Would it be all right if I stop by for a minute to grab them?" "Oh, yeah, sure, Dad. No problem," he replied, a little too quickly. I could practically hear him and Sarah exchanging glances. The old man is lost without his glasses. Perfect. It fed right into their narrative. When I arrived, I played the part. I walked in slowly. Sarah was at the kitchen island, tapping away on her laptop. "Dad, you look a little pale," she said, her voice a symphony of fake concern. "Just tired," I mumbled. "I'll just grab my glasses and get out of your hair." I walked to the guest room, found the glasses I had intentionally left there last time, and came back out. As I entered the living room, I stumbled, catching myself on the wall right near the entertainment center. "Whoa," I said, rubbing my temple. Just a little head rush. As they both looked at me with that predatory concern, my hand hidden from their view unplugged the generic phone charger they had behind the TV and plugged mine in. It was a perfect, seamless swap. One down. "Dad, you really should sit down," Sarah said, starting to get up. No, I'm fine. Just need to use your restroom before the drive home." I walked down the hall toward their guest bathroom, but I accidentally turned toward Tom's home office. "Oh, silly me. Which way was it?" Tom pointed. "Other way, Dad. You okay?" Fine. I went to the correct bathroom. On my way back, as I passed his locked office door, I tripped over my own feet, dropping my keys. They scattered on the dark hardwood floor. "Damn it," I muttered. As I bent down to pick them up, my back to them, I slipped the tiny quarter-sized device right under the door's gap. It was invisible against the dark floor and the shadow. I left 5 minutes later, their fake, "Take care, Dad," calls following me out of the door. I sat in my car for a full minute, my hands shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for the rats to start talking. I gave it 3 days. 3 agonizing days of playing the part, of answering my phone with a shaky, confused voice when Tom would call to check in on me. I had to force myself to sound grateful for his concern, all while his real words echoed in my head. On Saturday morning, I made my move. I knew their schedule. 10 a.m., they take Leo to the big park across town. They're gone for at least 2 hours, a ritual they never break. I used my own spare key to let myself into the house I had bought for them. The silence was heavy. It felt disgusting, like I was a criminal in my own son's home. But then I reminded myself they were the criminals. I was just gathering the evidence. My hands were steady. I walked into the living room, knelt by the entertainment center, and swapped my audio recorder charger for the identical dummy I'd brought. 10 seconds. Then I went to Tom's office. I got on my hands and knees. My fingers brushed the carpet under the door until they found the tiny, wafer-thin device. I palmed it. I was out of the house in less than 2 minutes. Not a trace I had ever been there. I drove to a parking lot a few blocks away. I couldn't even wait until I got home. I plugged the USB charger into an adapter in my car and connected it to a small laptop I'd brought. The audio files were there. Dozens of them, all voice-activated. I clicked the most recent one. My stomach dropped. It was Sarah's voice, hard and metallic, like broken glass. "He's just getting worse, Tom. He forgot his glasses, then he stumbled twice when he was here. This is perfect. I wrote it all down for the lawyer. He said we need a pattern of cognitive episodes." Then Tom, my son's voice. Weak, hesitant, but complicit. I know. It feels wrong when he's looking right at me." "What feels wrong?" Sarah snapped back, her voice low and furious. "Feeling wrong about taking what is ours? He's spending our inheritance, Tom. That ridiculous donation he made last month? That's our money. He is not competent to manage it anymore. We are doing him a favor by taking control." A long, terrible pause. Then Tom. "You're right, so what did the lawyer say is the next step?" "We push him to sign the power of attorney next week. I'll tell him it's just in case of emergency. If he refuses, we use the doctor's visit, my notes, and we petition for an emergency conservatorship." The lawyer said with his recent behavior, it's a slam dunk. We'll have him in a comfortable, secure facility by Christmas. A secure facility? They were going to put me in a home. They were going to lock me away. I clicked on the audio from the device in his office. It was a longer conversation from last night. Sarah. The lawyer confirmed the asset search. He's worth at least $15 million, not counting the properties. Once we have control, we sell the big house first. Then his ridiculous car. We liquidate everything. Tom. And Leo? He loves his grandpa. Sarah let out a short, cold laugh. Leo will be rich. He won't even remember the old man in a year. He'll have better things to think about. I closed the laptop. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel sadness. I felt nothing. A cold, black void where my love for my son used to be. My phone buzzed. It was an email from Mr. Graves, the forensic auditor. Subject, initial findings. The email was short. Mr. M, a law firm, Harper, Dane, and Associates, made 3 separate inquiries into your primary brokerage accounts last month, citing a preliminary estate planning review. They were denied. They are definitely building a case. Be careful. So it was all true. They weren't just talking, they acting. I started the car. The time for grief was over. The time for action had begun. They wanted a war. They just didn't realize I was the one who was about to bring the fire. I sat in my car for maybe 20 minutes, the audio of my son and daughter-in-law plotting to put me in a facility playing on a loop in my head. The black void I felt had now solidified. It was no longer shock, it was steel. I didn't go home. I drove downtown. I didn't call my normal family lawyer. He was a good man, but he was for wills and house closings. I needed a shark. I called a number a business associate had given me years ago, a just-in-case contact. The name on the door was Thorne Asset Protection. Mrs. Thorne was in her 50s with eyes that looked like they could X-ray a balance sheet. I didn't give her the emotional drama. I paid for 2 hours of her time. I laid out the facts. I told her about the interventions, the doctor visit, the financial advisor. Then I placed the small audio recorder on her glass desk. This is a recording from their home, I said. This is their plan, in their own words. I played her the key parts, the secure facility, the slam dunk conservatorship, the plan to liquidate everything. She listened, her face impassive. She didn't look shocked or outraged. She just nodded slowly as if I were confirming something she already knew. When the audio finished, she clicked her pen. "Mr. Michael," she said, her voice crisp, "you have two paths. Path one, we file for elder abuse, we get restraining orders. It will be public, it will be messy, and it will drain you emotionally. Your son will be ruined, but you will be dragged through the mud with him." I leaned forward. "What is path two?" A small, thin smile appeared on her face. "Path two is more elegant. They think you are a doddering old fool, so we let them. We let them think they are winning. We let them build their entire case, and we help them." I was confused. Help them? We let them walk right into a trap they built themselves. Their greed is the bait. "Here is what we do," she said, pulling a legal pad toward her. "First, we create an ironclad international trust. It will be invisible and untouchable. Starting tomorrow, we quietly liquidate and move 99% of your assets into it. Your name won't be anywhere near it. You will on paper be a man of modest means." She continued, "But we will leave one very tempting, very visible account. A main account. We will put a significant, life-changing amount of money in it. Enough to make them ecstatic." She paused, locking eyes with me. "Then you will begin your role. You will become exactly the man they think you are. You will get confused, you will seem weak, and then at a time of your choosing, you will agree to their demands. You will give them the power of attorney they so desperately want, but only for that one single bait account." I finally understood. I could see the whole plan. "They'll think they've won the lottery," I said. "Exactly," Thorne replied. "They will see the money, they will get greedy, and they will act immediately. And the moment they attempt to move $1, we have them. Not just for planning, but for the act of fraud itself. They will expose themselves." I left her office an hour later. The steel in my chest was now razor sharp. I was no longer a victim, I was a hunter, and I was about to become the best actor they had ever seen. The next phase began. I was no longer Michael, the CEO. I was Michael, the confused, fading old man. My performance had to be convincing. I started small. I called Tom's phone at 10 p.m. He answered, his voice thick with sleep. "Dad, what's wrong?" I put a tremor in my voice. "Tom? Oh, I'm so sorry. What day is it? I thought I had my Rotary Club dinner tonight. I'm all dressed up, but the restaurant is dark. Did I miss it?" I wasn't in my suit. I was in my home office. I'd resigned from Rotary 3 years ago. There was a heavy sigh. I heard Sarah's muffled voice. "What? What's he done now?" Tom whispered back, "He's at the club. He thinks it's Thursday. He's confused." He came back on the line, his voice dripping with that fake, condescending patience. "Dad, it's Saturday. The dinner was 2 days ago. Are you sure you should be driving? I'll come get you." "No, no," I said, sounding flustered. "I'll just go home. I'm so embarrassed. Don't tell Sarah." "It's okay, Dad. Just be careful. We need to talk," he said. We talked the next day at brunch. I let my hand shake as I poured the coffee, spilling some into the saucer. "Oh, goodness," I mumbled, fumbling with the napkin. "My hands, just not what they used to be." Sarah and Tom exchanged that look, that tiny, triumphant glance of pure, unadulterated greed. They thought I was crumbling. "Dad," Sarah started, her voice like honey covering a razor. "We're so worried about you. This big house, all your investments, it's a lot for you to manage." I looked down at my plate, letting my shoulders slump. I know," I whispered. "I paid the power bill twice. Last month, I'm getting overwhelmed." This was the moment. Tom reached across the table, placing his hand on mine. It felt like a spider. "Dad, we can help," he said, his voice earnest. "Let us take that pressure off you. Let us handle the day-to-day, the bills, the accounts, just so you can relax. You you would do that? I asked, my eyes wide and vulnerable. Of course, Sarah cooed, her eyes gleaming. We're family. Why don't we have our lawyer draft a simple power of attorney just for the main accounts, just so we can make sure you're protected in case you forget? There it was, the key to the kingdom. I hesitated, just long enough. I I don't know. That sounds so permanent. It's not, Dad, Tom insisted. It's just a safety net. We love you. I let out a shaky breath. Let me let me think about it, just for a day or two. They backed off immediately, seeing the fish was on the line. Of course, Dad. Take your time, Sarah said. They were glowing, high on their impending victory. They had no idea I was the one setting the hook. The next 48 hours were the most critical of my entire life. While I was playing the part of the confused old man to my son on the phone, I was executing a financial maneuver so complex it would make a Wall Street trader's head spin. The day after our brunch, I called Tom. I let my voice sound weak and defeated. Tom, son, it's Dad. I've I've been thinking about what you and Sarah said. You're right. I'm just so tired of managing it all. I want to accept your help. The power of attorney. Let's do it. I could hear the smile in his voice, the barely suppressed victory. Oh, Dad, that's wonderful. You're doing the right thing. I'm so proud of you. I'll have our lawyer, Mr. Harper, draft the papers immediately and send them over. You just you just rest. Thank you, son, I whispered. You're a good boy. I hung up the phone and my face turned to stone. While their lawyer was busy drafting papers for a fool, my lawyer, Ms. Thorne, was liquidating an empire. We didn't do it from my home, we worked from a secure, windowless conference room in her high-rise office. For 2 straight days, we signed papers, made encrypted calls, and authorized wire transfers. My logistics company? Sold to a holding firm, then its assets absorbed by an umbrella corporation. My stock portfolio? Liquidated. My properties? Transferred into a new LLC. One by one, my life's work was dissolved, turned into liquid cash, and funneled through a series of international accounts until it finally landed in one place. The Helvetic Shield Trust, an ironclad, anonymous offshore trust in Switzerland. My name was nowhere on it. The beneficiary was a new corporation I controlled, and to access it, you'd need 3 different security keys held by 3 different lawyers on 2 different continents. My children couldn't touch it. The U.S. government couldn't touch it. It was gone. By the time the messenger arrived at my door with the simple power of attorney from Tom's lawyer, 99% of my wealth was invisible. I was on paper a man of modest means, except for one thing: the bait. As Ms. Thorne had planned, we left one single, highly visible account at a major national bank. The day before the papers arrived, I wired exactly $2 million into it. A huge, life-changing sum. Enough to make them ecstatic. Enough to make them stupid. I sat at my kitchen table looking at the papers from their lawyer. They were exactly as Thorne predicted. Broad, giving them sweeping control. But cleverly, she had ensured they only linked to that one specific account number. They thought I was too senile to read the fine print. I picked up the pen. I practiced my signature, making it look shaky, weak, and grateful. The trap was now built, baited, and set. All I had to do was wait for the rats to come for the cheese. I didn't just mail the papers back. That wasn't theatrical enough. I needed to see their faces. I called them. It's done, I said, my voice heavy with defeat. The papers are signed. Can you come pick them up? I'd like to do this in person. They were at my house in 20 minutes. They walked in, their faces a perfect blend of solemn concern and pure animalistic anticipation. Sarah was practically vibrating. I sat them down at my heavy oak desk, the same desk where I'd signed their college tuition checks, the checks for their wedding, the down payment on their house. I want you to know, I started, looking directly at Tom. This is a big step for me. I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you with my legacy. With your legacy? I pushed the notarized documents across the polished wood. Tom picked them up, his hands visibly shaking. He reviewed the signature. Sarah was reading over his shoulder, her eyes scanning the text like a hawk. I saw the exact moment she recognized the account number, the one I had accidentally let her see on a misplaced bank statement last month. The one I told her was my main retirement fund. Her eyes met Tom's. A tiny, almost invisible smile played on her lips before she replaced it with a look of deep seriousness. "Dad," Tom said, his voice thick with fake emotion. "You have no idea what this means to us. We won't let you down. We will protect this. We will protect you." "I know you will, son," I said, slumping back in my chair, playing the part of the relieved, exhausted old man. Sarah, ever the efficient one, cleared her throat. "Well, Tom, we should probably get the online access set up right away, just to make sure all of Dad's automatic bill payments are correct. So he doesn't have to worry about a thing." "Yes, yes, of course," Tom said, still clutching the papers like a trophy. "It's all yours now," I said, pushing my chair back slowly. I'm I'm going to go lie down. This has all been very tiring." I stood up slowly, a frail old man. They almost pushed me out of the room with their eagerness. "You rest, Dad? We'll handle everything from here," Sarah called out, her voice bright and sharp. I walked upstairs. I didn't lie down. I walked into my bedroom, closed the door, and opened my laptop. Ms. Thorne, my lawyer, had set up a special real-time monitoring alert on the $2 million bait account. All I had to do was wait. It wouldn't be long. Their greed was a starving animal, and I had just unlocked the cage. I didn't have to wait long. I was staring at the account portal on my laptop when the screen refreshed. Transaction initiated. Wire transfer amount, $2,000 to account number I didn't recognize. Status, pending. They didn't even wait an hour. They didn't try to take a little. They tried to empty the entire account in one shot. They were sloppy. They were stupid. Then the screen refreshed again. Transaction failed. Account frozen. Security protocol Thorn. Activated. That was my cue. I heard Sarah's voice from downstairs, sharp and panicked. "What do you mean it declined? Try it again." I heard frantic typing. Then Tom, his voice cracking. It's locked. It says the account is frozen. They must have seen the large amount." I stood up from my bed. I walked out of my room and down the stairs. I wasn't limping. I wasn't frail. My footsteps were heavy, and even on the hardwood stairs, they didn't hear me come in. They were both hunched over Tom's laptop on my desk, their backs to me. "Call the bank," Sarah hissed. "Use the power of attorney. Tell them we're his son." "I'm trying," Tom yelled, sweat beading on his forehead. "Having some trouble?" My voice, my real voice, echoed in the room. Cold, clear, and full of authority. They both spun around. Their faces, I will never forget their faces. It wasn't just shock. It was pure primal terror. The kind you see when a ghost starts talking. "Dad?" Tom stammered. You, you're, you should be resting." "Oh, I'm done resting, Tom," I said, walking slowly toward the desk. "What's going on?" Sarah demanded, her eyes narrowing. "Why did you do this?" "Did I do what? Set a trap?" "Yes." I leaned against the desk, crossing my arms. "You were right, Sarah. I am getting forgetful. I almost forgot who my real family was, but you reminded me." Tom was white as a sheet. I don't understand." "Let me help you." I pulled my phone from my pocket. I pressed play on the audio file I had saved. The room filled with Sarah's cold, clear voice. We'll have him in a comfortable, secure facility by Christmas. Tom collapsed into the chair. Sarah looked like I had physically struck her. I have hours of this, I said quietly. Your plans to declare me incompetent, your talks with your lawyer, your disappointment that I was spending my money. You spied on us? Sarah whispered, her voice full of venom. You plotted to steal my life, I countered. The power of attorney you're holding? It's only good for that one account. The account you just tried to empty. The moment you clicked transfer, you committed fraud. My real lawyer, Ms. Thorne, has a log of that too. As if on cue, both of their phones buzzed on the desk. That, I said, will be an email from Ms. Thorne. It's a cease and desist. It's a notice that you are permanently disinherited. It also contains the transcripts of your little plot, just in case you try to fight it. Sarah snatched her phone, her hands shaking as she read. Her face crumpled. It wasn't sadness, it was the rage of a thief who had been caught. But the rest of it, Tom mumbled, broken. The company, the other accounts. Gone, I said. Moved, hidden. In a place you and your cut-rate lawyer will never, ever find. That $2 million was just the bait. You have nothing. I stood up straight and pointed to the front door. Get out. They didn't move. They were frozen. I said, get out of my house, I repeated, my voice rising. Or I call the police and show them the evidence of your wire fraud right now. Your choice. They scrambled. They grabbed their coats, their phones. Sarah shot me a look of pure, unadulterated hatred. Tom wouldn't even look at me. He just wept. A weak, pathetic man. I followed them to the door and watched them hurry to their car. I slammed the door shut, locking the deadbolt. The house was silent. And for the first time in months, I was free. That was 6 months ago. The silence in my house that night was the beginning of my new life. For the first few weeks, it was strange. I half expected a phone call, an apology, something. But there was nothing. Just the deafening silence of a bridge I had permanently burned. My lawyer, Ms. Thorne, handled the final messy details. The $2 million from the bait account? I had it transferred directly into a new secure trust fund. It's for my grandson, Leo. The trust is ironclad. His parents, Tom and Sarah, cannot touch a single cent of it. He will get it all when he turns 25, free and clear of their poison. I get reports from Mr. Graves. Tom and Sarah are not doing well. They had to sell their house, the one I paid for, to cover the massive legal fees from their asset protection lawyer. Tom's no-show job at my old company, that disappeared the second I sold it. They are, for the first time in their lives, on their own. As for me, I've never felt better. I'm 62 years old and I'm finally free. I sold that too big house. I bought a penthouse apartment downtown with a view that steals your breath and a cabin in the mountains for when I need silence. I'm traveling. I'm investing in tech startups run by young people who are hungry, not entitled. I'm learning to fly. I am, in every sense of the word, living. I lost a son that day. But the truth is, I had lost him years ago. I just refused to see it. I saved myself from a dark, lonely, and broke future they had planned for me. They thought they were taking my money. They had no idea they were giving me back my life. So, that's my story. And it brings me to you. Did I do the right thing? Was my revenge too cold, too calculated? Or was it exactly what they deserved? What would you have done in my place? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. And please give this video a like if you think they got what was coming to them.